Yo, what's up? We're back with Dying Light 2. Ask Me Anything, episode 2. Let's go. hmm
Hi everyone.
Hey,
So the next question is,
CC.
from
Okay,
the
automatic.
footage we have already seen, Aiden seems much less confident and more nervous than Crane. Will the
Yeah,
game's
he's
plot
new.
focus on his growth as a person, the same way the first game focused a lot on Crane and his changing motives?
Most likely.
So the answer is yes, absolutely.
So they can
This
actually
is
build
what
a story.
Great stories are about, right?
Yeah.
So Aiden is a defined character when the game starts, and he has his own motives.
I
and
didn't
he
even know there
has
was a
his
different
own,
character, to be honest.
mood and characteristics, and all of those things impact how he behaves at the start of the game. But
Okay.
he's also a character that is searching for identity and is also searching for discovery, for a secret from his past.
A secret.
Which of course I cannot spoil to you at this point because I would like you to discover this in game.
He was a zombie the whole time.
The thing is that as the game progresses, the character arc builds and you have impact over the character arc. And
Oh.
actually by your decisions, you will be able
Okay.
to kind of change or decide
Good or evil.
what Aiden you will have at the end of the whole story, at the end of the whole experience. So depending on your choices, Aiden can be a little bit more selfish or a little bit more focused on the collective and the needs of others. And I think this is the most important thing that you will decide.
I'm playing good
regarding
Aiden, by the way,
character.
for sure. A lawful good Aiden.
Another question, and this one is about GRE. So the question is, will the GRE make a return, or at least be a player in what led up to the events in Dying Light 2? I understand that DL2 is set far in the future
Oh, is
from
it?
DL1, but I find it a bit difficult to imagine how an organization with enough money and power to fly in drops and antis in daily could disappear if the virus wasn't wiped out.
The GRE is such an enormous organization. They left very many traces in the map. So yes, this organization was very wealthy, very powerful. So imagine what can you find when looking for those traces?
So yes, GRE is making a
Okay.
return in Dying Light 2 and it will play a very important part in the overall world building of the game. So you will see plenty of bits and pieces and collectibles and notes and references to what happened to GRE and
Right.
basically how it connects and what role it plays in the events between Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2.
Cool.
Another thing is that you will also encounter a lot of GRE related stuff in the game. And actually there will be even open world activities built around you discovering and exploring abandoned GRE labs and quarantine
I love the sound of that.
areas.
Abandoned labs.
So if you are really interested in the backstory of GRE, you will have a lot of places where you will be able to learn it.
Cool, cool.
The next question is about romance. So the question
Oh my
is,
God.
I don't really play games with romance in them, but
Nobody
in
really
the first Dying Light
cares.
game, Jade and Crane had somewhat of a relationship, romantic relationship.
Yeah, but it was
going on.
automatic, like.
So can we expect to see something
Okay, I see
along
what
the
you're
same
saying.
lines
Okay,
for
okay.
Dying Light 2? So for sure, you will experience a lot of very strong,
Okay.
very complex
That was like about
relations between
choices,
people,
you know,
between
like,
the main
who
character and the
cares?
NPCs.
But
between
okay,
the
if it's
NPCs
automatic, yeah, I get
themselves.
it.
And of course, there will be quite a few very strong female characters.
Oh, so you can choose?
But we don't have romance
Okay,
options
good,
like
good.
in BioWare games, for example,
Yeah,
because this was never our goal.
And BioWare games are usually like RPGs. This is more
Okay,
an
so
FPS.
the next one is the heavy one.
With RPG
And
elements.
we have been asked this basically since we announced the game. So the question is, which ending of the following is canonical?
Good question.
So it's still a little bit too early to say it all to you guys, but let me just tell you that the events in Dying Light 2 and the
Yeah.
events that have led up to Dying Light 2 are very strongly connected to what happened in the first game. So when you play Dying Light 2, you will surely discover the answer to this big
Does
question.
that mean that the DLC is basically
The
not
story
counted?
of Dying Light 2 takes place several years after the story of Dying Light 1. Kyle Crane was such an important person in all the events that happened in Dying Light 1, so he must have left at least an impact of what will happen in Dying Light 2.
Okay.
So this one is actually very interesting, so please listen closely.
I'm all ears.
Will it be possible to recreate the technology and the government, or perhaps people will be doomed to live in the modern dark ages for a long time?
Well, that's what
The
they're doing with
question
factions,
is
no?
straight and simple. We don't want to give you an
Okay.
option to rebuild the government
say no
and
guns, so-
technology and community as we know it today.
Okay.
Why? Because to be honest, we thought that would actually be quite boring. We know that stuff. There's no point in rebuilding this.
Yeah, go
what is
wild.
more interesting to us is actually present our own vision of what the future could be after an apocalypse like this. So
Gotcha.
yes, you will stay in the modern dark ages we created, but as has been said quite a few times in this AMA, you will be able to shape the future by your decisions. So you will be able to decide what kind of buildings, what kind of structures, what kind of community will the place be after you finish the game.
Okay.
There goes another one, and this is another one that we have been asked since the first E3 when we announced the game. So the question is, will some characters from DL1 be returning in this game too? And if so, then
sure.
can you name a
For
few,
sure, for sure.
or maybe it's confidential? So Dying Light 2 takes place in a completely different
Oh, really?
place, and quite a lot of
For sure you're
years
gonna see some
after the
people from
events
Dying Light
of the
1,
first
for
one.
sure.
So for this reason, you will not encounter any
What?
returning characters from the first game. But of course, there will be
Yeah, okay,
quite a lot of
references. Oh, really?
to
Okay, you
what
not
happened in the
encountered
first
them,
game,
but
and
okay,
also
I get
some
it,
of
I
the
get it.
characters. So
Yeah, yeah,
please
yeah.
keep a
You find
close
notes
eye
from
on
the
what
first,
you will be
from the
able to
people from
find
Dying Light
and
1.
discover in the game.
Or you hear about them on the news or something, on the radio or something, you know?
Julia, could you tell us, will there be more open world events, such as the airdrops from the first game?
Yes, there will be a lot more open world events in Dying Light 2. Not only we will have the living world with encounters all over, but also you will be able to explore new locations such as GRE Quarantine or Dark Places.
Dark places. Sounds dangerous.
Oh, this is very, very important. It's about the factions in the game. So the question is, what can you say about the main factions in
Yeah.
Dying Light 2? How do these two groups affect the entire city? So yes, there are two main factions in the Dying Light 2 world, and it's up to you to decide which one of those you want to side with.
I hope they're not black and white and they're more grayish.
The thing about them is that their strategy to survival differs.
Yeah.
So first of all, there are the
Different
peacekeepers,
buildings.
and these are the strong military types. So they focus mostly on combat. They want to kill all of the infected that are out there. So they build powerful weapons, they build powerful traps,
Okay.
and they work kind of like this military regime. The other faction is survivors, and they want to adapt, they just want to survive, so they adapt to the environment, building their communities, planting fields, and also investing and focusing on traversal. They don't fight
I
that
think we're
much,
going
they
with
just want
survivors.
to be able to travel the city easily and escape any threats. So if you side with them, you will start seeing more and more of their traversal helpers, and you will be
gotta
able
see the
to use that
characters.
as well. Of course, aside from the peacekeepers and the survivors, there are other groups in the city. The next important one is the renegades, and they are basically the bad guys. So you will face them and you will have to make some decisions how you want to deal with them.
Peacefully.
And then there are also smaller groups which are used mostly in side quests or as additional background characters for the main quests. Colorful people, colorful groups with their own ideas, agendas that you will be able to discover while you'll be playing Dying Light 2.
Got it.
There goes another question, and it says, will I be able to side with no factions and be an enemy to all?
Pure evil.
So you have to understand that our world is extremely brutal,
You can't, basically.
extremely primal,
You have
and
to
it's full of
choose.
threats and conflicts. So if you have no allies, you basically die very quickly. And
You
we
should leave
don't
that up
want
to
you
us,
die very
but it's
quickly, and we
fine.
also want you to make a decision. We
Yeah.
also want you to make a statement.
Right.
So a lone wolf option is not available. You will have to decide if you want to play with those guys or the other ones.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Awesome. Thank you for answering the questions, and that was pretty damn good. I only wanted to mention about, I think it was point 5 when they asked, will anybody from Dying Light 1 return, or I think it was question 4, which one of the endings is actually canon, which one isn't. And you might have noticed this in video games. There's a lot of video games, they basically come up with the main game, right? Full story, whatever. And then they take out, they bring out a couple of DLCs or like expansions for story, and then they make a sequel to the game. And usually the sequel of the game completely ignores all the expansions, DLC and stuff. Like you could have done like all kinds of crazy stuff in the DLC expansions. You go to the sequel, none of that like even exists. It's never mentioned. It's never nowhere, right? And then you have the opposite games, which is a rarer form of game, which actually takes a lot of the DLC in consideration. So if you want to like know the story of what happened, you got to play the DLCs as well, right? And a great example of this is Dragon Age, right? You play the first Dragon Age, the expansion. There's characters from that one that come back in the second one, and the third one, I think. And the second Dying Age, Dying Age. What am I saying? Dragon Age. The second Dragon Age, if I'm not mistaken, the ending of the DLC pretty much like sets up the third game. Or was it the first one? I don't remember, man. I played like it's been a while. I beat all 3 of them, right? Even the DLCs for the third game of Dragon Age 3 like really sets up the 4th game. But if you never play the DLCs, you have no idea what's going on. You go from 3 to 4, you're like, who the hell are these people? But they're really well explained in the DLCs and the expansions. And I kind of enjoy that because if you really enjoy a game, you'll most likely pay the expansion, the DLCs. And if you're really invested into that game, it kind of sucks when they come up with a sequel and it's like, oh yeah, everything you've done, like nobody knows about. Like it never happened, or we're never gonna speak about it ever again. So that's why he kind of like avoided the question, but in a way, he kind of didn't. He basically said, what happens at the end of Dying Light 1 will lead into the into Dying Light 2, right? So meaning that the DLCs and the expansions they came up with, probably you're gonna get maybe like a sentence in the new game or somewhere, like some notes, oh yeah, this happened or some shit. That's what I'm getting from this. Like basically the DLCs and the expansions, they don't count, or if they do, it's very, very minor to the overall story, right? I don't know. We'll see what's up. I don't remember jack shit from the story. I played this game like so long ago to begin with. I beat it, of course, but I don't remember much. I really don't. Like he's bringing stuff back to me, you know. Should I probably do a replay before this game comes out or something? I don't know. Anyways, thank you for watching, guys. See you in the next one. Peace out.